Hey, folks, it is 7 o'clock 6 o'clock, pardon me. And I'm calling the meeting of the Common Council of the city to order. This is the regularly scheduled meeting. It is July 22nd, and we are in the council chambers. Dave, we'll start with roll call.
Lynn Parrott,
Here.
Tony McFall,
Here.
Barb Doss,
Here.
Bob Gates is excused, Ken Killian, Kathy Kopp is excused, and Tom Knoll.
Here, the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, you're kind of down there by yourself tonight there, Tom. Okay. We'll start tonight with a special presentation from UW Platteville. Hard to believe, but it's almost welcome week. So, Lisa and Abigail.
Hello, everyone. I was just thinking that to myself as I was pulling up in parking tonight. It's just a little over a month until we have our welcome weekend. So we have been spending the summer with our incoming new students, getting them ready to be here with us in the fall. And traditionally we come to a meeting with all of here with you some of the events that are going to be happening for welcome weekend. My name is Lisa Kratz. I'm director of the Marquee Pioneer Student Center at UW Platteville, and it's our department that takes the lead in welcome weekend every year. And I am going to introduce Abigail Ledbury, involvement coordinator for campus activities. And she is the lucky one that actually does all the heavy lifting of putting it all together. So you have a copy of the events that we have confirmed so far, and I will let Abigail hit any highlights.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm just going to hit a few of the highlights, the things that you may want to know. We have new students moving in on Saturday, August 30th. So we have students that are going to be here returning or coming to campus between 8 and 2 p.m. So to be pretty busy around and near campus in that morning, moving students onto campus. We also have a few things happening on campus that day for parents and for students. But one of the things I just want to draw your attention to is our welcome weekend kickoff and our class photo that is held on our East Turf practice field, so near J Street and Southwest Road. So that is a pretty high energy, loud event. So that just know that that is happening. That's where we take our class photo. So it's a pretty special event for our incoming students. On the next page, Sunday, August 31st, we have a few more low-key things happening just around campus, from our wellness walk to different crafts and opportunities for students to walk around campus to find their classes. We do have an event called Bridge Fest, where we have about 60 plus student organizations that have booths. Most of that is maintained on campus around Busby Hall and Bridgeway Commons. And then we also have later that evening, we have a bit of construction on campus outside the Marquee Pioneer Student Center on some of our lawns. And so we've had to move a few events that we normally host there to different locations. One of those is Paint Glow. So we're hosting that just west of Glenview Commons. So between kind of all of our traditional halls over there. Monday, September 1st, some more low-key events, some crafts again, different bingos and things like that for students. We wrap up that Monday, Labor Day, with a few outdoor events in that same location near Glenview Commons, in the heart of campus, and then by Morrow and Dobson Hall. So we have some Get the Scoop on Greek Life, and then we have our annual outdoor movie and pizza palooza. So we'll be actually showing Happy Gilmore. So we're hoping students really like that. They were voting on that movie all summer. So this incoming class really seems to like that movie. A few events just to draw your attention to throughout the first week of classes. We like to celebrate our students in their first year as a pioneer. So we have a special event for them to take photos and commemorate their first day as a pioneer. We also are welcoming different community businesses to campus. And so we're working with the chamber on coordinating that. So if you've seen any of their newsletters and have hopefully signed up, but that's another opportunity to get involved and get in front of not only new students, but also returning students. And last year we had about 400 students that stopped at that event. We do also have Dollar Movie Night, which seems to be a staple for us, getting students out into community at Millennium Cinema. But overall, that's kind of really doing a lot of the same events that we do from year to year. A few of those changes in our outdoor locations. But most of those are going to be in the heart of campus. So hopefully not too much loud in the community or to our neighbors, but we were trying to be cognizant of that when we did choose some new locations or temporary locations. So any questions on anything on here?
Evidently, your construction's not going to be completed by the 1st of September.
So it will be completed. It's the grass that is not going to be able for us to be on because it'll be dirt and seed. And so they want to give it time to look pretty eventually. So it will be done. It's just we can't use the space and have people walk all over it and stuff.
Been a big summer of projects.
Yes.
Anybody else with questions here? Well, then, congratulations on
Yes.
starting your next year and
Yep.
Yep.
New students will be here in a month. So
well, actually, won't there be students here well before a month?
yes. Yep. We'll have a
We'll
lot.
have athletic teams.
Yep.
All the other student staff.
And a band.
Yep. We do have a few more new student experience days. So 2 more new student orientations where students are coming and registering on campus. And then also 1 day that is for transfer students. So transfer students to UW Platteville. So some of those days still coming up, and then early arrivals from lots of our different organizations that get to come early.
And Badger Camp.
Yes, we do have Badger Camp in a few weeks as well. So
Badger football.
Badger football.
Badger.
Yes.
Okay,
All right. Thanks so
great.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is consideration of the consent agenda. The following may be approved on a single motion and vote due to the routine nature. We have the council minutes from July 8th, payment of bills. I have no appointments for boards and commissions tonight. We have licenses, 1 and 2 year operator licenses to serve and sell alcohol as are in your packet. A temporary class B to serve fermented malt beverages to the Friends of the Mining and Rollo Jameson Museum for Mine Day, which is August 9th from 11 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon. Several banner permits, August 9th through September 7th for the Dairy Days, annual Dairy Days event. October 25th to November 15th for the Veterans of Foreign War, likely for Veterans Day, the 11th. May 1 to May 30, 2026 for the Veterans of Foreign War, likely for Memorial Day. The parade parade permit for the Platteville Dairy Days parade, which will be Saturday, September 6th. The permit runs from 9:30 to 11:30, and it would be Main Street from Hickory to Broadway. And then a street closing for Lutheran Street from 380 East Furnace to 250 Lutheran Street on Friday, August 22nd from 4 to 9 for a block party by the Platteville Free Methodist Church. Also in the consent agenda are your Grant County Highway construction aids. Approve the allocation of $2,000 toward the Henry Street project. So, do I hear a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Dave will vote.
Parrot,
Yes.
McFall.
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
no,
Yes,
motion carries.
Okay, next we have citizens' comments, observations, and petitions, if any. Clint or somebody, can you tell us now, when is the pancake breakfast I've seen 2 different dates now. So when is the pancake breakfast at the airport?
Good morning.
I had, the last response I had from the president of the commission was that it was Sunday, the 27th.
So we believe it's this Sunday. Okay, because I've seen signs around in town that say August. So I don't, that's why I thought maybe we could,
What time of the day?
it's 7 in the morning to noon. The Boy Scouts do it, troop, whatever.
Right outside of the, on the highway by the, airport that says it's 27.
27th? Okay. So somebody must have posted a bad date. So that would be this coming Sunday, and the Boy Scouts do that. I would like to congratulate the airport on their acrobatics activity this weekend.
So it's the 27th, but what time of the day is it gonna start?
7 in the morning.
Oh, 7 in the morning, okay. Thank you.
Does anybody, and Cody, you have Mine Day coming up on,
Mine Day is August 9th from 11 to 6 p.m.
and Howard, could you speak to the thin overlay activity this week that was perhaps unexpected?
We had, our contractor came in and said, we're ready to go. Are you? And I said, well, I guess we are, because we know that if not, it usually gets postponed for 5 or 6 weeks. So, the contractor finished our 2025 thin overlays actually today on Moonlight and Flower Court.
And so what kind of lead time did you have from the contractor? I mean, he came in and said, can we do this? Was that the day he started?
It was Thursday that he let me know that he was gonna come in, do prep work on Friday, and then the actual paving on Monday, Tuesday. But he thought there could have been a possibility that he could have started Friday afternoon too, so it was pretty quick.
I know some residents were surprised, so I don't know what our procedure is for advising people. Did we consider putting notes on doors or anything?
That's exactly what happened
Okay,
Thursday evening and Friday morning.
great. Could you also provide a little bit of an update on how we're doing with the Pine Street parking lot and Pine Street in general?
Okay. Pine Street, water main, we've done water main up to 4th Street. And today we started putting concrete back down from Oak Street up to almost 2nd Street. And we'll be continuing to work in parallel as much as we can. Our goal right now is to at least have Oak Street open as a cross street to get from Oak to McGregor Plaza by August 1st. Open that back up. As other intersections open up, depending on conditions and all, we may or may not be able to open them up as well, but if we can, we will. The Pine Street parking lot, they've done all the excavation and everything, so we've got the electricians coming in to work on the new overhead lighting that's gonna go in there. So in a few weeks, it should be getting close to being ready as well.
I have a question on Pine Street.
And get closer to microphone.
Okay. I have a question about Pine Street. The original break was at the end of Oak in front of the Pioneer Fort. Okay, that was a crack, and that break, as you said before, a number of years ago, that break went underneath the new concrete and passed on to the other side of the street. So now, beyond Oak Street, what is the composition of the old pipe that's along that street? Is that What type of material is it? Is it a,
It's cast iron.
oh, it's cast iron, okay. Okay, so that was subject to cracking, the whole crack going around.
Yes, the original crack that caused the first break in '06 was a circumferential crack. But this last one up by Fourth Street in April, that actually was a actual blowout. We had a whole section of pipe about yay big around blow out of the top of the pipe.
Okay, thank you.
Howard, I just had a concern from some of the residents, and I think you addressed it, but I wanted to hit it again because they were, Pine Street is a huge concern. I think a lot of people, we may have told them, I don't know, but a lot of people are just concerned about the longevity of it, like it seems like more streets are being closed and that nobody knows about it. And so if you can address like how we're communicating that to the residents, or how, we can help communicate that to residents to kind of ease what's going on.
We can, I mean, we send out a weekly update to people that have signed up for email updates. We work with the Ruxton apartment manager. We work with Main Street manager to do weekly updates and all like that. If somebody wants additional information, we can provide them with copies of those weekly updates to show what's going on with the project.
Is it
So,
on the website when you first pull up the page, our city website?
Not
Okay,
not on the first page necessarily, but have it in our projects
right.
area.
I just kind of I want to suggest that we make
no, there it is.
visibility happen.
Yeah,
with,
actually, it is on
the front page when you.
it is on the front page.
Okay.
In the spotlight box.
Okay. And then I had a couple people kind of complain about the uneasiness to get to the post office now. Like they can't get in there they can't get in to park to put their stuff. I guess if they have bulk stuff. And then you know how we used to be able to go and put it in the box and not get out the car. So if you can address that too.
Okay.
Or can you address?
I mean, if you're talking about the post
Post
office drop boxes that are on
Mhm.
Bonson Street,
Mm-hmm.
because of both projects, it's difficult to get in right now. The best way for them would be to actually go into the post office itself. As we work our way up the street and as the parking lot gets completed and opened up, then there may be some additional opportunities for people to come down 4th Street, go through the new parking lot and drop things off at that post office drop box out there. But I understand that it's going to be difficult for a few weeks, but that's about all we can do.
Or have we considered, or Clint, there are several other drop boxes in town. Perhaps what we should do is help to highlight the other drop boxes. I know if you're real used to always going on Bonson Street, you go on Bonson Street, but I believe there's a drive-by box in McGregor Plaza. There used to be, I don't know. I haven't used it lately, but I think there's one there. And I think there's a drop box
One
right here in
outside.
front of City Hall.
There's one out.
And there's
front.
one in front of, the former cop McKeegan Law Office. And there's one at UW Platteville. I
Okay.
mean, there are lots of drop boxes.
Okay.
So I guess I would encourage folks to take a look around.
Right.
And while it's easy to do what you've always done, it's not bad to think about new things.
I think they were just deterred from like, you can't come in through Main Street because there's a sign that says road club, and you can't come in through, for Pine, so you can't get into the I think that's what it was, but.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, is there any council person that has anything they want to say?
Yes. Tonight will be my last night serving on the city council. I have some health issues that I need to take care of. And I feel that I would not be able to do the job that I need to do for the city. I want to give a special thanks to the staff, to Clint, to the city council itself, to all the administrative staff, to everyone here that works for the city. You've done an outstanding job. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. You are worth it. Because I never met a most outstanding group of people in my life. So if anybody has any complaints, first of all, think what you're complaining about. And second of all, give everybody a little break. Because we all need it these days. We all need a little love. So I appreciate that. And thank you for allowing me to serve on the council.
And thank you, Tom, for your service on the council. We will miss you. We will miss you tremendously. So thank you, Tom. Any other folks have anything they want to? Okay, then let's move on to the reports that were in your packet. The only report in your packet was from the Plan Commission from June 2nd. Questions? I have nothing to add and Bob's gone. So we have only one action item tonight, and that is the proposed amendment to the Industry Park land price formula. Abby and Joe.
So as you can see in your packet, and as we talked about at the last meeting, the land price formula has not been updated since 2016. We know that costs have changed dramatically since then. And to ensure that we are selling price for the correct amount in our industrial park, we have a proposed change to the land price formula that is $175,000 per acre. We have also slightly changed how the incentives work. We have adjusted the jobs incentive to incentivize all jobs over $20 per hour without benefits. And we have the land price formula gives an incentive of $10,000 per, sorry, Joe, it's not in front of me, $10,000 per 100,000 over 1 million. Did I say that right?
But the price is reduced by 5,000
Oh,
per
sorry.
10,000 of improvements over $1 million.
Had it in my head somewhere. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, questions on this? Then I would take a motion if anybody has one to offer.
Motion to approve the proposed amendments to the industry park land price formula.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Tony, seconded by Tom to approve the proposed amendments to the Industry Park land price formula. Dave will vote.
Parrot,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes,
no,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, that's the only action item on our agenda. We have a couple of information and discussion items, the first of which is property annexation, zoning designation, and preliminary plat, Western Avenue. Joe.
Yes, we received an application for annexation of 11 and a half acres of vacant, what's currently vacant agricultural land. It would be on the west side of Western Avenue, so it's right across the street from Westview School. This is a direct annexation by unanimous approval, which means the owner of the property is the only person involved, and they have submitted the request for the annexation. As part of that annexation request, we have to consider a zoning designation when it changes from the township and the current zoning to the city, which has a different zoning categories. So the request is to designate the property for R2, 1 and 2 family residential district. So as submitted, the annexation request is contingent upon the requested R2 zoning. So basically that means you approve the annexation with that R2 zoning, or you vote to deny the request annexation with the R2 zoning. Subject to annexation approval, the applicant has also submitted a preliminary plat. The request is to divide that annex property into 6 building lots that would be used for residential development. So the lots range in area from 1.53 acres to 2.52 acres. They would all have frontage onto Western Avenue. The access would be from Western Avenue for all those lots. The lots generally are 133 feet wide for each of them. One of them, lot 6 to the north, is a little bit larger in area. It has a smaller frontage, but it has a larger overall width. And that lot would actually be sharing a driveway with the current house off of Western Avenue. Actually, as it sits, Western Avenue right now is not fully platted. So the plat would create an outlot that would dedicate the western half of that street along this frontage as a city street. There would also be a portion of the property along the southern edge of the property to be annexed that would remain in the township, and that would provide access to additional land owned by the applicant further west. So that is the request. So like I said, technically there would be 2 considerations for the council. One is the annexation and zoning designation. And then if that is approved, then it would be the preliminary plat would be considered.
So was the preliminary plat included in your presentation?
Yes. What do you mean in my presentation?
Oh,
Staff note?
Found it. I didn't see it before. It was in the packet. I just didn't see it before. Okay. Okay, questions from council members?
Well, I have a question, looking at this. I'm looking at, what, the north part here, and the original property is, accessed, I assume, by this road, which I've not driven on, but this road which leads to a house that is what? Facing to the south, is that correct?
I think he's looking at the Clare House. So he's looking at the map that is an overhead view where you have the orange arrow and then the blue lines and the I don't know, purple line. That's the map he's looking at on page, for those of us on a computer, page 39.
Which is another. Okay, so I'm looking,
You're looking at this map, right, Ken?
I'm looking at.
What's your question about it?
My question is that the property that's Western Avenue that is to be developed, is this property up here, when I look at my book, this property up here, is this the former living place of the person that lived at that property? So I see red, looks like it's going south, is that correct? Is that what you're talking about here?
So actually the house, the house itself and some of the land around it is actually a separate parcel owned by somebody other than the applicant. So we're talking about annexing what now is currently it's a cornfield.
We're just talking about the cornfield.
Correct.
And so this other part up here, that's I assume is going north and south, is owned by somebody else.
Right, so the house property is not part of the annexation.
Okay. Well, then, the next question is, since, Western Avenue, you show here that it is, in part adjacent to wooded area. So there's a wooded area through there, and I assume that is an area that will flow down toward a woods. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm,
It's gonna flow down towards the woods so that at some time that property is gonna contribute water to the wooded area. We had a similar situation for this type of thing on I think it was Sunset Drive, that the area, the water went into the wooded area, and the owner of the property had to improve that property because of the fact that water was flowing into the woods. So that brings up the point that in looking at this on this map, what is this area that is light in color that's by the woods here? Is that what is that area?
And I think that's outwash from the creek or river or
Okay,
water, whatever you want to call it there. I can see where he's looking at the if you,
the bend in the stream.
at the bend in the stream.
Yeah,
That's outwash.
right, yes.
okay, so my question is, when we looked at Sunset Drive, Sunset Drive years ago, the owner was asked to put in material to cut down the amount of flowage into the stream area.
So what's your question?
My question is that you're gonna have flowage into a stream area, so how are you gonna cut down the amount of erosion that's taking place from your wooded area?
I'll let the applicant address that.
Sorry about that, Ken. I wasn't sure if you were gonna ask a bunch of questions and I was going to answer, or if we should just go as we go, so we'll just go as we go. Jody, can you bring up the driveway map? I think that might help with some of the lot lines in the aerials, if you don't mind, please. So the area that you're concerned about, Ken, we have to follow all the rules of the city of Platteville as well as Wisconsin DNR in terms of erosion control and runoff. So because in order for someone to get a building permit, they are going to have to go to Rick Reneker's office and get not only a building permit, but an erosion control permit, which will control the runoff from our proposed lots. And if you can, I don't know if it's gonna pop up on your screen or not, but the area that you were talking about on the very left-hand side there, that is the bend in the stream, the Little Platte River. And currently, the city water that comes from the corner of Camp and Western Avenue, in between lots number 4 and 5, there's a wooded area. That's the current drainage from the city street. So we have to address the city runoff in addition to the homeowner or the potential homeowner here has to address the runoff from their property as well.
Okay. Well, that's my question for now. I assume the people want to be speaking here too. Go ahead.
I will say that I sent Joe several questions today, and so I will share those questions now so that you know the questions I asked. First of all, I said it appears that annexation requires the council to approve R2 zoning. And Joe has answered the request is for annexation with R2 zoning. The council can either approve or deny that request. So it's basically annexed with R2. If this is approved, I asked, will a developer's agreement be required for further development of any of the property? And Joe has said, yes, a development agreement would be required with the final plat. I went on to say, I believe I heard that these lots would require a sewer gathering. I don't know. I didn't know what else to call it. There was some kind of sewer kind of thing, and there would be some kind of pump. Please explain the sewage installation and what is required and who is ultimately and forever responsible. So it goes on to say, Joe's answer, each house will have a sewage pump connected to a low pressure force main. The city will ultimately own a portion of the force main and some control valves. The rest will be privately owned. The details will be in the development agreement, and I'm not sure I still understand all that. I went on to ask, there is a preliminary plat. What does it take to change that plat to a different configuration? Joe answers, approval of the final plat will be required before the land division is approved. Once the final plat is approved, any modifications that would increase the number of lots would require approval by the city. I asked, what has the city promised relative to driveways or entries onto Western Avenue? And Joe has asked, there have been no specific promises made. I go on to say, each suggested lot is between 1.5 and 2.5 acres. How many R2 lots can be made from each of the suggested 6 lots? Joe answers, if the lots are used for single-family residential, they could each be split in 2. If the lots are used for duplexes, then there would not be enough frontage to split each lot. I went on to say, is the owner aware that sidewalks may likely be required? And Joe says, no discussions have taken place relative to sidewalks. I went on to say, we have stringent R2 rules as they relate to configuration and planting, in other words, design standards. What rules exist for design standards for R2? And Joe answers, we have no design standards for duplexes. Finally, I said, I believe all the property on the south side of County Highway B is R1, right? And Joe answers, from the University West, that is correct. So I asked about the other zoning of adjacent properties. Okay, anybody have anything to add? Perhaps the sewage thing, Dan, you could speak to what this
Yes,
means?
yes, yep. So let me step back here a little bit with this map up here. Might help address some of those concerns. So as we're proposing is 6 lots on the west side of Western Avenue, from just north of Union Street up to Camp Street. To serve these properties with utilities, there's an existing water main that's already in, Western Avenue that we will be connecting to. Actually, there's 2 of them. So we'll be working with Howard on which one to connect to. There's a 6-inch and I believe a 10-inch as well. So we'll have to work with him on which one to connect to. With regards to the sewage, and how we're gonna handle that, currently all of these lots pretty much flow from south to north and from east to west. So one option that we looked at initially was to put in a gravity line. However, we do not have enough depth based upon the manhole that is currently located at the intersection of Union Street and Western Avenue. So the other option is that we put in a large lift station. Well, we already have one of those. You can't see it on the map, but if you were to continue going north, past the former Claire House, that's where the city's lift station is at. Unfortunately, we cannot get from point A to point B because of some topography issues. So therefore, we are working, we would work with the plumber, and there would be a low pressure sewer system. So what this is this is a private line that would be installed on the property owner side of Western Avenue, which would be the west of the west right of way. So it would be in an easement. And so each home would hook up to this system with their own sewage pump, like a grinder pump that you would either have in your basement, or you can have an outdoor style, or outdoor, one that's outside your house that you gravity flow to. It pumps up to that system. Each lot will pump up to that force main, which is it's called a low pressure force main, and it'll pump up to the intersection of Union and Western Avenue. So the only portion that may be considered public would be just like a sewer lateral coming from the house, right from the house to the right of way, from the right of way to the main is public. The other portion would be intended to be private and would be owned by those 6 lots.
So the only place the city would own would be at the connection at Western.
Potentially,
Western
and
and Union.
it would be very similar to a sewer lateral situation with a house, yes.
And those houses would then be responsible for maintaining that line and
Correct.
taking care of it.
Yep. The other,
For that lot.
the other option is that this property remains in the township, and those 6 lots each have their own well and they have their own septic, which they are large enough to have. But with city utilities, it makes more sense to annex, and, connect to the city utilities. Let's see here. The other questions were, the driveways. So I know it's hard to see, but we were kind of comparing the number of driveways on Western Avenue that we're proposing from Union up to Camp Street. We have approximately 700 feet and 6 driveways being proposed from the corner of Western over to Kelly Lane. Is that Kelly Lane? I believe it is. There are 9 driveways and just a little under 800 feet. So we are matching, so we're not having a more dense amount of driveways than what's already there on Camp Street. So we're basically following what's there right now. And we're very similar to going south of Union Street as well, with those houses that go between Union Street and Main Street. So very comparable number of driveways on the west side of Western Avenue.
And lot 6 would not have a driveway.
And lot 6 would be shared. I'm keeping that in the conversation because there's a shared driveway between them and the former Claire house.
And so that would take an easement.
There already is an easement there. Yep. And actually the easement is for the Claire house because they do not actually have any access onto Camp Street or Western Avenue other than by the existing easement that's in place. That was done via that was when it was in the township. And so that is a township/county rule that allows that to happen. There are going to be restrictive covenances on this property, which are going to require minimum sizes as well as exterior materials. Jody, could you please switch to the zoning map, please? Yep, the other one. Yep, thank you. So the question has been, this came up at the Plan Commission meeting, is why R2? So right now, and why not in the overlay district? So first question as to why the R2. One, if a duplex is built, as been mentioned, we cannot further subdivide the lots. The intent here is not to have 6 lots that are re-subdivided into 12 lots. The intent here is to make 6 lots because that's what the developer wants. In order for 6 more lots to be created, they would have to come to the city, the Plan Commission, and the Plan Commission would have to approve that. So that's for that. R2, currently there is R2 at the at Wait Lane, which is on the south side of kind of our neighborhood that we're in. I looked at those. There are 16 duplex lots currently platted in that area. 8 of them are currently built on, and 7 of the 8 are owner occupied per the Grant County website. And what I mean by owner occupied is that the property address and the mailing address are the same. So maybe somebody has a second home, I'm not sure, but that is their mailing address. So, so this is not anything unusual to our area. With regards to the overlay district, when the overlay district was created, that was by choice. As you can see, the areas that are in black hatch are the properties that are in the overlay district and the properties that are not. So there are many properties that are in, but there are also very many properties that are out. So not being in the overlay district, I guess, we're not setting a precedence. We're not spot zoning. Basically there's a lot of variation in that area with regards to the overlay district. With the duplexes, if a duplex is built right now, in many of the communities that we do work in, you build a single family home, we're starting at $350,000 minimum, more likely 400 to $500,000. If we are able to construct a duplex, now my side of the house now goes down to maybe 275, 300. And what we're able to do here is we're able to help reduce the price because we have common items for work, right? We have common walls, we have some common building, et cetera. And so with the opportunity here is that, so instead of homes being minimum 350, we have the potential to get them under $300,000. So that's another consideration for the R2.
In a duplex, would each have to have its own grinder pump, or is there one grinder pump?
They would be able to have that option. So if they would have an exterior pump, they would both be able to come into that. You can allow up to 3 units to a single one of the exterior grinder pumps. If it's an interior grinder pump, say in your basement, each individual unit has to have their own. Same thing would be with the water services. If it's each individual unit would have their own water service, which is a city standard.
Okay, any questions of Dan?
Ye-
Who's speaking for the developer, and I think Jim is in the audience, so.
I have a question concerning the driveway. Is that gonna be asphalt, gravel?
It's gonna have to follow the city code, which is gonna have to be a hard surface, so it would be either asphalt or concrete by code, I believe.
Or pavers.
Or pavers, yes,
Yeah.
yep, it has to be a hard surface, it cannot be gravel.
Okay,
And what percentage of the lot can be covered?
Maximum 70% parking and driveway
Is that
and building, sorry,
70% parking,
driveway, building.
driveway and building?
Mhm.
How does that compare to R2, R1?
R2 doesn't have any maximum. I
R-
don't believe.
Pardon me.
I don't believe that has any maximum coverage for R2 or for R1.
R2 doesn't have any.
R1, I don't think R1 has any maximum coverage. Except for the street yard. Meaning between the street and the front of the house. Then it's a maximum of 25% that can be parking or driveway.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we've had, and I assume that this is public information. We've had we, the owners of property within the established overlay district and as property owners within the Westview neighborhood, do not object to the zoning R1 or R2 if either includes the overlay zoning, RLO zoning. This is a new 11-acre development on Western Avenue across from Westview Elementary School. We are making this request because it concurs with the existing zoning of the neighborhood. If RLO zoning is not included, we object to this annexation. And we have, I can't tell you, Joe, did you count the number of signatures?
57.
57 signatures here, from, people in that neighborhood. So, and I think everybody on the council got a copy of that. Additionally, we have had several people who have registered with the following comment. I would like to recommend R1 adding RLO, residential with the overlay, and or R2, again, adding RLO. If RLO is not included, we object to this annexation. And I will read these names as I can, they will all be Platteville, Wisconsin, but I will give the address. Charles Hillman, 1290 West Hill Avenue. Rob Saris, 145 Moonlight Drive. Jan Weber, 1285 Union. Terry Ellis, 1245 Union Street. Dwight Nelson, 1270 West Hill Avenue. Deb Osting, 150 Moonlight Drive. Tom Nichols, 1115 Perry Drive. Amy Spone, 155 Moonlight Drive. Judy Pierce, 1150 Camp Street. Tim Dice, 115 Moonlight Drive, Kay Young, 950 Kelly Avenue, Steve Young, 1270 Union Street, Chris Boyganzon, 1440 and 1460 West Main Street, and Tom Young, 950 Kelly Avenue. That's those that I have. And then I have 6 people who have registered to speak tonight. And I don't know that there's any particular order. 5 people, I guess. Jean, you're starting? Okay. Jean Weber, 1205 Union Street. 1285, pardon me. I can't hear you. You'll have to go to the microphone.
My name is Gene Weber from 1285 Union Street. Barb, before we start, maybe a question of Joe. Joe, I know many of your council members here are familiar with RLO, the overlay district, but in case anybody isn't, would it be good for you to give a brief discussion as to what that is so they know?
Sure. So the RLO, it's residential limited occupancy. It's an overlay district. Essentially that district changes the definition of a family that pertains to that overlay district. So it places limitations on the number of unrelated individuals that can live in a unit in that overlay district. So any number of related family can live in there. There is no limit on the number of kids that somebody's going to have, obviously. But if you have unrelated individuals, tenants that are renting it or otherwise, typically in the city, it's a maximum of 4 unrelated. In the overlay district, it's a maximum of 2 unrelated. There are some differences in the definition that we had to borrow from state statute that apply as well, but that's the gist of it.
Okay, so everybody understands? A regular R1 is up to 4 unrelated, and RLO, the limited occupancy, is 2 or less. And I think we dealt with this not too long ago, Tony, probably before you were on the council. So Jean, now you can go ahead.
This is the map of all the folks that are currently.
Jean, you need to get to the microphone. We can't hear you at all.
Thank you. This is the map that shows all the folks that are in the overlay district. It's 125 different properties, and it's 85% of what's in that particular area. So to begin, as I mentioned, my name is Gene Weber. Jan and I have lived at 1285 Union Street for nearly 50 years, and along with other caring neighborhood leaders, have helped keep our neighborhood family friendly for the sake of our Westview Elementary children. We are supportive of R2 zoning, but only with RLO, commonly referred to as the overlay district, being added. If not, we oppose annexation. Doing so keeps this area family friendly and is consistent with the 125 neighboring properties as shown on this map. Recently, an investor purchased an R1 home in our overlay district and had 4 unrelated people living there. This led to neighbor complaints about too many cars and recreation vehicles on unpaved surfaces, excessive noise late evening, and excessive traffic, raising concerns of children's safety. As all preceding councils have done, the city council upheld our neighborhood desire to keep the area zoned with RLO added. Annexing without RLO will invite other investors to buy one or all those lots, build duplexes, and pack as many unrelated people in it as allowed. Envision 6 duplexes, 12 units, each with 4 unrelated people, 48 in total, living across from Westview schools. Developers may say, approve R2 only, and I will keep the property in the township, and hence you will lose tax base. Please consider there likely is a financial reason for requesting this annexation. And when the owner goes back and reruns the numbers, an application for R2 with RLO added may still turn out to be the best business option for them. Remember, as a council, you also have control over street access and township relations. You have these and other tools that will help our community support the desires of all your constituents and our neighbors. Members of our 125 person overlay district have led and contribute annually private funds to city associated fundraising projects that save our taxpayers multiple times any additional tax revenue that may come from this annexation. Examples include the recent fire station and the current pool fundraising project. And fourth, many families have waited some time to move into our neighborhood because of our family-friendly neighborhood. Others have constantly been asking us to keep them appraised of potential homes that may be coming open. It is highly likely that RLO will help the current property owner to sell these 6 lots. Per Joe Carroll, you as council members have full zoning authority, so you can require RL zoning. Or if you prefer to simply vote the annexation zoning request up or down, reject the annexation now and leave it to the owner to resubmit if that path is chosen. That said, my suggestion would be to make a motion to approve the annexation with R2 and RLO added. That would enable the owner to decide later, if he is so inclined, without resubmitting another annexation zoning request and incurring another fee. Finally, thanks to all the city administrators, planning commission, city council, neighbors, and owners for working through the annexation and zoning challenges as we all strive to serve Platteville better. Appreciate your continued support. Thank you.
Tom, are you next? Yeah. I don't know who's.
Hi, I'm Connor Strumlaw. I live on 530 Western Avenue with my wife, 2-year-old son, and soon to arrive daughter here, hopefully sometime soon. I live just south of the lots that are up for discussion. We moved into our house 5 years ago and have come to love our neighborhood. When it came to buying a house and house shopping, there were homes that we shied away from because they were close to multifamily rentals. We did end up picking our lot and our house because we knew this area and neighborhood was quiet and would be a great spot to build our family, along with being close to the elementary school. My neighbors, Diane and Jean, have told me stories of back when the house just next door to me used to be a larger rental, and there being a party that resulted in some property damage in the area. As a homeowner and a father, that is something I just do not want to worry about and have to manage. That is why I would hope that these lots are single-family residences or at least included in the overlay district to help keep the neighborhood that we've come to love. My wife and I are excited for the opportunity for families to move into this area. Thank you for your time.
Sure if I should put my glasses on or take them off. I don't know if I want to see you or what I'm going to say. So I'll go with this way. My husband and I, Kathy, start by introducing. My name is Kathy Connett, and I live at 110 Moonlight Drive for 4 years, I guess. My husband and are at that age, 70 for him, 80 next year for me, where most of the trips that we make are to the hospital rather than to Walmart. And that seems like an odd thing to say about this, but what that does is puts you in touch with those young professionals that we talk about so frequently that we would like to have in Platteville. My husband, being from Missouri, is very, very friendly. And the first thing he says to anybody that comes near him in the hospital, do you live here in town? The answer is usually no. Why? Not very many places to live for families. And that's a detriment to our community. We want these people to be here. If you are looking for a house in Platteville today and sat down at realtor.com, you'd find 54 houses for sale. Only 11 of them meet 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage, and a basement. And the price of those homes ranges $175 to $589. If the goal of the current owner of the 6 lots in question is to sell them for family dwellings, zoning them as R1 or R2 fulfills that goal. R2 with the overlay on it. Initially, I was told that the lots would be priced at a point where nobody would pay that much money to put a duplex on it. But merely hoping for that outcome isn't really enough. A duplex on each of those 6 lots puts 48 people potentially on that street, right across the street from Westview School. And it doesn't do a whole lot for Main Street and Western Avenue intersection either, which is no big party today. We have within the overlay district, what we call the overlay district, actually an overlay can be put on any individual house. There are 144 properties. 85% of them have the RLO designation on them. We collected and submitted, and I have a question about this, 93 signatures. And you have 57? Where are the other? I didn't count. I'll count that.
Barb, it is 93.
Oh, okay. Okay, I've got a copy here if you want. Okay.
My fault. It's just my count.
Okay. It's obvious, it's clearly the preference of the people in this area that they have single family homes where you're not overloading the area. The density is a problem if you have that many people. Our preference is family friendly. These lots being R2 without an overlay doesn't meet that goal.
My name's Tom Osteen. I live at 150 Moonlight Drive. And I have lived there for, my wife and I, for 35 years. I'm on that committee for the overlay neighborhood committee. And to reiterate one thing that was said earlier, I am not opposed to R1 or R2. And this, if you annex that area, we are not opposed to that. All we're asking is to include the overlay on it. I don't understand why that's a big issue. If those lots are as good as what I think they could be, I don't think it's gonna be a problem. I know the price, these days on a lot is high, but for a single family residential home, I think those 6 lots, would be great. Being so close to Westview, for a family to have their kids. The school is surrounded by the overlay district. If you look on that map that was up there, I saw 2 spots that weren't covered on the overlay that surrounded the Westview Elementary. And we have 85%. Our committee, I think the purpose, I think we need to look at what the purpose of the overlay district is. It's simply to preserve the character and the aesthetics of those communities on the west side of Platteville. They're about the last areas that are R1, single family residence. If you were to go down Moonlight Drive, where I live, go down Flower Court, go down West Hill, go down Preston, go down Perry, go down West Hill. Those are all single family residential areas. And take a look at them. Take a look at the people that are in there. Take a look at the aesthetics of that area. Compare it to some other areas in the city that don't have an overlay and they have duplexes, rentals and whatnot. Do we want that in one of the last areas left in the city? Especially with the property being purchased west of Western Avenue. And there's hundreds, a couple hundred other acres, not necessarily owned by Jim, but other people have purchased from the Claire auction or whatnot. So one thing we say about the overlay district is that it's been a rousing success. It's done exactly what we wanted to do, preserve our neighborhoods. It seems to me like we're willing to reach a compromise with the current owner. Why can't he reach a compromise with us? Thank you very much.
My name is Diane Nelson and I live at 520 Western Avenue, just a couple houses from the property in question. And when I was thinking about this, I'm thinking, okay, what are the city's goals regarding single families and housing? So I went back and looked at the city and town of Platteville Smart Growth Comprehensive Plan and the housing assessment survey that was done to see, what is Platteville actually, not Platteville, yeah, Platteville actually looking for. And the city has set some goals, and some of the goals in the housing assessment, when they asked what the people wanted to do, what goal number 2 was maintain and improve the quality and condition of existing housing. And second, one of the other goals, goal number 5, was to provide opportunities for additional single-family development to maintain an adequate supply of single-family houses. And when you look at statements that people made in that housing assessment, it was interesting to see the opinions of different people. They asked the respondents what rank the factors that determine your current or future housing location. Number one factor was cost, which has been addressed. And it stated in that assessment that we need to build middle income homes for single families. Another question was asked, if you were to move to or within the city of Platteville, what type of housing would you prefer? 81% of the respondents says owner single families. So that's what the respondents to this survey on housing said. Another question was, based on your experience, to rate housing, your housing in your community. And 55% said we need more affordable housing for first-time buyers. And then another breakout was 36% said single-family homes in traditional neighborhoods. Another 36% said you need single-family homes in new subdivisions. So the majority of these people in this housing assessment wanted single-family homes to be developed because there is a shortage of them. And then another question, question 56 said, indicate where they think multifamily housing should be constructed. Many felt there didn't need to be any more multifamily housing and preferred having multifamily housing concentrated close to the urban core of Platteville. So those are some of the things when I looked at what the values and the goals of Platteville were in regard to housing. That had to do with this particular issue. Some of the housing policies that I found, they wanted to protect the existing housing stock through effective code enforcement. They want to design new residential areas to foster quality growth and development in the community. And they wanted to assure that the housing development standards were clear, specific, and objective. So, this is sort of just kind of, maybe I should have been at the beginning of the list of people to speak, but this is what you have in your plans for the city, in your plans for the future here at Platteville. And we were just being a resident for the last 5 years. I grew up here, but I moved back in my retirement. Lived in that neighborhood, and it is a wonderful neighborhood. We know our neighbors, we can speak to our neighbors, and we would really like to keep it a nice, friendly, single family area. So while we really want that property there, those 11 acres to be developed, we would really like to request that those, if it is zoned R2, that it does have the RLO attached to it so that we can keep our nice, friendly neighborhood in the overlay district.
Thank you. And that's all of the sheets that I have of people who had requested to speak. Joe, I have one additional question. One of the things that has been questioned is, or it has been suggested, is this increases the tax base. So these 11 acres increase the tax base by how much?
That would all depend on what gets constructed and the value of the buildings that are
At
constructed.
this point in time, it would increase the tax base by how much?
Hardly anything because it's farmland.
Okay. Even when it would get rezoned, it would still.
But we have use value assessment in Wisconsin, so it wouldn't change until it's actually developed.
So if it were annexed and no one built on it, the
Still be
increase
assessed as farmland.
in the tax base would be negligible.
Negligible, correct.
Anybody else with questions? Tom?
Yes, I have one for Joe. And maybe this should be addressed by the developer. Is the developer planning on developing these properties per se through their own property management company? Or are they planning on selling the properties to others that would build the duplexes themselves?
Just, yeah.
Yeah,
Jim, you want to come to?
I'm assuming, I'm only assuming because,
Yeah.
I, I, I think I got the impression from many in the audience that you have concerns that it doesn't turn into an area which we have, by Southwest Road. Which some of the properties are well maintained and some are not. And if the developer sells them to somebody that builds a duplex, that situation is that they basically have a large lot and they can have up to 4 unrelated people on each of those residents. In other words, each side of the, which I understand for the residents that may cause a problem because you have single family homes and it's difficult to imagine all of a sudden having people all of a sudden being rushed into that area and not, I don't want to be discouraging about this, but not having the feeling that you don't know who's moving in there. In other words, I'm going to put it blankly, is not in my neighborhood. And that's not what the city is looking for or wants, is where we discriminate because of what we feel somebody would be like or how they would operate their home or keep it up. We are a community that needs more people in it, needs a tax base. So I understand your concerns, and I'm not saying I do not believe them, but as a community, as a city, we need to look at everything that we could possibly do to help bring people into Platteville and build. Now, my personal opinion is I may not agree with Jim and how he has this set up, but that's not my decision to make. That's up to the council to make when they decide on what they're going to do with this. But I do want everybody to understand that the community needs residential homes. It needs nice residential homes. It also needs multifamily. And the reason why is because many people cannot afford a single family home. They cannot afford it. It's just out of their reach. So do we bring people in and have those duplexes built or whatever dwellings are built there and add to the tax base? Or we say, no, we don't want you here. And I think we need to understand and we need to have a compromise. We need to understand where each person is coming from and what the developer's looking for and what you are looking for. Now, I don't know the concerns that the developer has about the overlay area. But my own opinion, I understand why you would want that. But I also understand that the developer is taking some land, annexing it into the city, and is trying to get it developed. And that is one of the most important things we have to look at as a community, because our tax base is very limited. We look at our roads, our streets and everything, that is controlled by the state, whether you realize it or not. We are only given a certain amount of money. So the streets, I can tell you, most of the streets and the water and sewer systems that are in the city have 100-year life or more. That's not sustainable. That means that in 100 years, things are going to be totally different than they are now. Just like 50 years ago, when many of the subdivisions were put in, it was different. Many of them only had 1-car garages. Now it's 2 or 3-car garages. Many of them only had 1 bedroom, or 1 bathroom. Now all of them have 2 to 3 bathrooms. The expectations of what a new homeowner wants in a home is much higher than what the home expectations were 50 years ago. So we have to take a look at everything, and I'm not disputing what you have to say. I'm not disputing Jim's outlook on what he wants to do. I'm just saying, let's see whether we can't totally understand whether we can't come to a compromise which is going to meet the needs of the community. That's the most important thing we need to think about. Not what our own personal needs are, but what the needs are of the community. Because the community is what keeps us going. Your city council, their staff here, they put in a lot of time. They put in a lot of effort. And they don't take anything here lightly. So please understand that the decisions that the city council is going to make are weighing on them very heavily. So I'm just asking for everyone to think about it and see whether you can't come up with some type of resolution in which you feel that would meet everyone's needs. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me.
Yep,
So,
so
Dan?
the answer to your initial question, Tom, was if this is going to be developed and built on or lot sold, it's gonna be lot sold. So if a individual wants to come in and buy a lot, they're able to. If a contractor wants to come in, build a lot, build a spec home, that's the plan. There is no plan on developing these lots and then having the current owner build and manage the properties.
Thank you very much.
Okay, somebody made, Dan, in a prior, presentation tonight, you said that there would be covenants on this land.
Correct.
So you want to speak to that?
Right now, I brought it up to Jim, and Jim got a little bit of a deer in the headlight look. But similar to what was done for his development behind Menards, there are going to be minimum sizes, whether it's a single family or a duplex. There will be materials of construction covenants, and probably even you're talking about the different driveways. A lot of times the covenants are what type of driveway you can have in there. So those are the types of covenants that we're talking about.
How does that work if you're selling the land off? I mean,
The covenants is-
the two things seem to
Yeah,
not
it's
go together.
Right, it's a recorded document. So for example, if the covenant is that a single family home has to be 1,500 or 1,800 square feet, or a duplex has to be 1,300 per side, basically you have to, if you build and don't follow those covenants and one of your neighbors, much like the RLO district, someone catches you, then you are, you have to redo your work or whatever. So.
Dan, may I interject?
Yeah,
Covenances are different than zoning rules.
correct.
So covenances basically put a restriction on the property. So depending on how the developer wanted to do it, they could put certain restrictions on the property that would maybe satisfy the needs of of those neighborhood tenants or neighborhood owners. All I'm saying is that you need to take a look at every side of this. And so I really want everybody to think about it. I'm going off council. I won't have a say, but I want to tell you that as a person from the community, I want us to work together.
Yes, and another thing with the restrictive covenants is that there's a fine line between loose and too restrictive. You know, probably don't want modular homes or what I would call trailer homes. But at the same time, we don't want to go and say we need a 2,500 square foot home because you're going to really restrict who could purchase and build on the lot. So that's something that I think the covenants are usually part of the final plat approval. I think, Joe, correct? Don't we have to provide a sample of those?
We don't, the city's never required covenants, but if you're gonna have them on there, we usually want to see what the covenants are.
Yeah, so typically, I think in the, like, when we did estates at Keystone, we provided a sample covenants for the final plat review.
Okay, does anybody else have questions? Well, I don't think we can take questions from the audience. Kathy, you spoke before. This would come back, Joe, have you scheduled this for public hearing? Is that what's
Yes,
next?
correct.
So this would come back to the council in 2 weeks on August, whatever, 8th? No,
August 12th.
August 12th, whatever that date is, as a public hearing. Again, it would be a presentation and then a public hearing is, people can speak for, people can speak against, people can speak in general. So there's a formal kind of procedure that occurs. I would suggest that between now and then, that people continue, Tom, the whole idea of trying to find some kind of middle road here, where it might be an option in the next couple weeks. But that would be the trajectory of this. It would go on the council as a public hearing next meeting. And then the council would take whatever action it takes, or no action, I guess. No one makes a motion, there would be action, I guess. Is that right, Joe?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so thank you all for coming. I believe we have your names, we have your thoughts. We have, I encourage you to continue to reach out if you have other things you want to say, and we thank you for coming. Guess we'll move on to our final information and discussion item, which tonight is the city manager budget guidance.
I'll maybe give everyone just
Okay.
give it a little moment here for folks to, what they want to do.
Can you say, well, about this? No, I think it's fine. Just, I think we've worn it out.
I didn't mean to wear it out.
Okay, if you're ready, Madam President. Okay, in the continuation of series here that we've talked about with our budget guidance, we've got another item here that you'll see here tonight. This is in your packet, page 47 of 53, if you're following along off the website. Wanted to make you folks kind of aware of some additional guidance now that has gone out to our directors. As we did approve a budget schedule, it was anticipated that this more guidance would go to them in the second week in July, and I did miss that by a Monday. I think we got them up to a Monday following, so it was into the third week of July, but nonetheless. And so looking at the kind of the overall guidance, the first page I'm looking at, it kind of points out to the purpose of budget guidance, all very generic here. But looking kind of the big elements here is reporting and data. It's recognition that we've asked more data of our directors, of which I kind of talked about previously with our different efforts in maintenance and such. The next item is community input again, highlighting the importance of getting community feedbacks through our opening hearings and working with commission members, planning documents, appointed board members, etc. And then as well as perseverance. I'm asking directors to advocate heavy and loudly for their different initiatives as we go into the project. But then, of course, when we kind of reach final decision points, then our directors and all of our folks have to kind of understand we're working with limited resources and we operate with what we have given available to us. The section 1 assessment and forecast is kind of just a very broad 5,000 feet high kind of a perspective on where we think we're going to be at in going into the next budget cycle. So in looking at anticipated 2026 changes and kind of taking out the utility side of it, if we're just focusing on levy and we're saying underneath the premise of what would it take to operate as if we did this year, we'd anticipate about a 2% inflation in operational costs, a 2.5 impact in increased wages, a WPPA wages of 3%, which established by our collective bargainings, and then health insurance estimate of about a 6%. And these numbers are, again, your city manager's best guess based on data provided through such resources of Wisconsin employee relations commissions, and they get their projections through the Department of Revenue, et cetera. So with that being said, to do business next year, as is for this, as we've done it this year, about $320,000 increase of expenditure costs. Now, where are we going to make up for that? We know at the present, we're looking at estimated a 2.3% increase in shared revenues of about a $73,000 to help fill that void. We closed TID 5, if you remember, a few months ago. So with that, we have $145,800 again of estimated availability that can be put into general levy versus the TID district. And then we know we're still operating with the capacity for an offset with some of our debt service, that if we wanted to raise levies, we could fill the gap. Flipping the page, financial tenets and principles. This is something that we reviewed a few months ago. It's captured in here again. Moving into section 2, preliminary budget guidance. So in building the budgets, I've given guidance to directors to build their items with a 2.5% increase in living adjustments, as mentioned, and our WPPA members, our law enforcement officers, their wages will be built with a 3% adjustment. And in looking historically at kind of why there's a difference there and where it kind of lines up to, if you look back historically, in 2024, we increased general wages and salaries by an average of 7%, reflective of the Carlson study. In 2025, we increased our general wages and salaries to 3%, reflective of CPI. Our WPPA members experienced a 5% and a 4%. So it kind of washes out at about the same type of increase over the last 3 years. And again, we're not just kind of doing our best guess. We are referencing the Wisconsin Employee Relations Commission, and they get numbers from the Department of Revenues that establishes the base wage bargaining base wage bargaining numbers that you can go up to. As mentioned, operational expenses, asking directors to come in at a 2% increase or less, and then kind of having some carve outs for, well, if we have increased revenues in some type of a stream, then it's probably okay if we can offset that with expenditures, et cetera. Asking for operational revenues, again, to be looking out for new opportunities and always looking out for grant opportunities. And then you'll see the last 2 pages kind of get into the specifics on giving guidance to individual staff members or to departments. The first one is to the HR manager. I've asked the HR manager to present 3 options for considerations for health insurance next year. One will be the status quo, which is our current plan design and premium share. A plan B would be a plan that limits the cost of the city's premium share cost to 6% or less. And then the HR manager's discretion option, his special recipe that he can work on to kind of try to meet what is his best recommendation. Administrative Department, I've asked to please investigate appropriations for committees, boards, and commissions without expenditure authority to provide some funds for such things as continued education and training, etc. Administrative Department, I've asked to explore options for contracted property appraiser services and possible change in contract. We're currently with Accurate Appraisal, and we've had some hiccups along the line there, so we're going to see if there's other contractors that can provide those services. The next one is for the Department of Administration as well. Please investigate software solution for our CIP tracking as we continue to build CIP projects. Some of them don't necessarily always get completed in the year that you're allocating the funds, and then you have some significant carryovers, and trying to manage that beast only becomes more and more challenging as the years kind of stack up. I've also asked the Department of Administration to please evaluate wages for our election workers. And then another one is to also then evaluate what our budget book might look like if we do a slimmed down version. Right now, we have a very thick budget book that has lots and lots of amazing information in it. I don't know how often we're referencing that book, and I know it takes many weeks to kind of put that thing together. When I've got finance people that we have questions on, can we divert that time more towards figuring out better investment strategies to capture higher interest rates, or tracking CIPs, or doing these other types of projects? It's something we're going to evaluate and take a look at. The next one is social media archiving. We have a lot of social media platforms now, and if or when we have somebody that's asking for an open records request, we're trying to make sure we maintain compliance and being able to provide records. Community development, I've asked community development to bring forward a plan for the remaining federal grant funds that we received through the sale of the Roundtree Apartments. Community development as well, exploring contracted building inspector services for 2026. Public Works, I've asked Director Crowfoot to take a look at the possibility of building an assistant director, a public works position at the expense of a reduction in a superintendent, which we'll explore. The fire department, I've asked them to build the 2026 budget with current wages and salaries, but then to build an incremental potential 5-year plans of blended pay solutions for current volunteers. But I want to get the association's feedback on such a thing before we were to implement it. I've asked the director at the Mining and Rollo Jameson Museum to continue working with the Friends on allocations of $20,000 annually to keep a position that is currently full-time 40, which was a blending of 220s, in helping with the benefits package for those two positions together. I've asked Park, Forestry, and Recreation to begin resizing garden attendant staffing for the next year, but then also see if we can arrive at a bullpen of lifeguards that might even be in a voluntary type of capacity, because while we're shooting to open the pool at the beginning of 2026, I don't know for sure if it's going to be there, and it would be hard to pull it on a full staffing in a July or an August for just a few months. I've also asked Parks, Forestry, and Recreation to request money for their training and membership to get involved with the state organization to ensure that we're having access and partnerships for compliance on different state changes in laws and all those types of things, as well as tracking grant opportunities. And then finally, asking Parks, Forestry, and Recs to begin now building budgets for maintenance of the inclusive playground, but working again to explore possible funding and revenue support with ICI, Inspiring Communities. So, Madam President, that's where we're at with guidance. Worksheets are out to directors, as well as the CPI worksheets are out. This isn't the end of the discussion by any means. We have continued discussions and negotiations and problem solvings as it goes on. But this is an effort of transparency to make sure that you folks know the directions that we're currently marching. Thank you.
Hey, anybody questions here? Of Clint for budget guidance? No.
I thought it was excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope to keep it kind of a reoccurring theme, maybe not every meeting, but every other, to make sure that we're fully in tune and that you folks have a chance to be engaged.
Hey, folks, I think our next meeting is not a regularly scheduled council meeting. I believe our next meeting is Friday of this week in the morning at 9 o'clock, from 9 to 11. It's a strategic planning meeting. I don't believe, I don't recall that we got questions or anything that we need to look at.
No, in talking with Director Maggie, he has materials that he plans on bringing that day, but it's to kind of educate everybody on what those materials are and kind of a homework assignment then to go out in between meetings to kind of work on. Is how I think I understand it.
So 9 o'clock in this room.
That is correct.
So we will hope to see all of you 9 o'clock Friday morning in this room, strategic planning. This goes with our comp plan and parks plan and the whole ball of wax. All right, I have
How long will this last?
2 hours, 9 until 11. Okay, any other questions or comments? Otherwise, Tom, again, thank you very much for your service on this council, not only this time, but your previous service on this council. You have served the city on multiple occasions, and we truly appreciate that.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best as you face your health challenges.
Thank you very much.
I have the need for one more motion. Tom will let you make a motion.
I so move that we adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ken, Dave will vote.
Parrot,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
motion carries.